Hi everyone, my name is Hammond and this is Phoenix, my 2-year-old naughty boy. Today we're gonna do a grooming session for him. As you can see that he is very much needed for a groom. Yeah, I've been lazy and it has been raining all the time, so he has got knots all over and everything has been growing out. It's a bit too long right now, so that's what we're gonna do. This is gonna be an amateur grooming video, which means that I'm not a professional and I'm not going for a Bichon show dog cut. So if that's what you're looking for, then this video might not be the right one for you. Let's talk a little bit about the tools that I have. As you can see, that we've got this grooming table that can go up and down, and it can swivel, so that really makes things a whole lot easier. And I'm also on a chair, so with wheels, like a jockey chair, so I can also go around with Phoenix whenever I need to. Let's say that my favorite brushes. The first one is a big flat brush like this. And what's so good about this is I usually use these because these are softer and they're not so sharp on the skin. So I like to use this to go through the hair just to get all the dirt and whatever loose knots and stuff, just to brush them away so they are clear. And then the next one, I've got this the Doggy Man flat brush. I think a lot of you guys probably will have this at home if you have a dog, or if you have a Bichon, let's say. It's great, but this is the problem though. These ones are like tiny little pins, and if you feel it, it does hurt a little bit. Although they have thick coat, they shouldn't feel anything, but sometimes, yes, it does scratch. You can try it on your own skin and you would know that you have to be really careful with how much force you actually put onto your Bichon babies, alright? So I also use this, but I only use it like sometimes only, and I will show you when I will use it. There's only a few scenarios for that. And then the next one, this is actually my favorite. This one is the Moser animal line. It's actually the same thing, but if you look closely, actually, so these are longer and they can really get into the roots of the skin or the knots, because usually the knots are all the way down to the very roots of their skin. So these have a better reach than these short ones. And what I like about this one is you could see that one side it's gray and one side is black. And actually they are two different strengths. The black one is more, it's stiffer. So if you have like really tough knots, then you can use this part. But I prefer mostly on the soft ends, because you really don't want to pull on all the knots, because it's gonna hurt. And even if it doesn't, sooner or later your Bichon will just get really fed up and they just don't want to do this anymore, and that's a problem. And of course the comb, everybody should have this one already. So I've got the scissors. First of all, I have the very basic scissors that I got from my previous clipper from Wall. What I like about it is it's really basic. It's not sharp. You can't cut yourself or your dog with this. So if you want to trim little small hairs around the beak, around the mouth, or maybe if you want to do a little bit around the eyes, this is perfect, because even if they move, I don't think you can actually hurt your Bichon with this. So it's nice to have. And then the second one is a nice proper sharp scissor, a straight one. Nothing special, but just the size. I think the size is great. So, and then the curved scissors. This is great for trying to work on all the round shapes and whatnot. And last of all, you might want to have a thinning scissors to do all the softening the edges and detail works or whatever. Yeah, mostly trying to smoothen out all those scissor cuts. And then the last tool would be my clipper. That is the Wall KM10 and all the guards, all the different steel guards in different lengths. This comes really handy, especially if you want to make it quick, so both you and the dog can have a more pleasant time. No need to do it for a long time. Then these are very important. And of course the pet dryer as well. I'll have to move the camera over, as you can see right there. That's the pet dryer I have right here. It's not the most powerful, but it will do. I mean, I had it since when I had Vegas, which is 5 years ago, so it's still working. So I have no plans to get a new one yet, but maybe in the future I might want to have one that actually has a stand, so I don't have to hold on to the nozzle. Then that would also make things a lot easier, so I have both my hands free to do all the brushing. Start with the grooming session. The first thing to do is always to brush your, first to brush your babies as much as possible. Just keep it all as knot free as possible before you wash. My way of grooming my dogs is I always prefer to first brush them, and then I'm going to trim them with the razor or the clipper to a certain length. So I'm actually removing all the excessive hair before I go to wash. And the reason for that is when you wash your Bichon, when the hair is shorter, you use less shampoo, you use less conditioner, and it's also much easier to clean and also to rinse off. And that's very important, because if you don't rinse off the conditioner properly, then you'll have trouble trying to dry them. Dry it properly. So there might be cases where you are using the dryer and you felt like, hey, how come some parts are not drying as it should be? Then it could very well be that some of the conditioners are still there, and it's not pleasant, not for the dog as well. So that is important. And the next best thing, advantage of having cutting off some of the hair first, is that it also makes drying a lot quicker. Because as you can see, the dryer I have is not the most powerful one. So what happens is when I'm drying Phoenix, it could be by the time that I finish everything, the roots might be dry, but the ends are still not quite dry, and it just doesn't work very well. It's not as straight and fluffy as it should be. But if I cut it short, let's say if I cut it to about 2.5 centimeters and then dry it, I actually get a better results when I dry it. The hair seems to be much straighter. and there are no wet ends because those are all cut off already. So we can talk a little bit about what's the advantage of grooming your own Bichon or your own dog, is that you can have so much fun with doing it. You can finally do it the way you actually want, because Bichons can look different in because of their hair. They can have different styles. I mean, some people like to keep the ears long. Some people like to have that really round Bichon head, or some people like to keep everything short so they look like a little lamb. So yeah, so you can really just have fun in it. And for me, I think the best thing that ever happened from grooming my dogs is that I get to understand a lot more about them, like what they like. Do they enjoy being washed? Do they like drying, or are they okay with cutting? And also understanding the texture of their hair. That's also important too, because Phoenix has thinner hair, I would say. Just like human, we also have like thinner hair or drier hair, coarse hair, whatnot. So Phoenix's hair gets tangled much easier, and he seems to have a more greasy scalp or skin. It's not scalp, yeah, it's greasy skin. So if I dry him, it takes about a day or two, and then I start to see that by the roots, it's already curling up again. No matter how hard I try to keep everything dry, but it just happens. While Vegas, the older brother, he has more of a dry skin and a drier tone. So if I dry him properly, his hair can last for days before I start seeing a bit of curls. And also, while brushing your Bichon is a really good time, a good chance to check on their skin, because they are so thick coat, you barely can see anything, but during this time, actually it's great. You can actually check whether if there is any fleas, or maybe any wounds, or any rash, any irregular stuff going on. So it's kind of like also like a routine checkup, just to make sure that your babies are okay. So once you're almost kind of went through with the big brush, then you will want to start focusing on the serious knots, and that would, then you can use this brush right now. Okay. So I've noticed that most of Phoenix's knots are right behind the ears, and a lot around the neck, and a lot around the front legs, but not so much in the back. Maybe a little bit around the hind back, but usually these parts, the back, they're okay. So as long as you go through once, then if there are no knots, you can actually just move on, just focus on the most important parts. As you can see, he has a lot of knots just right behind his ears. This is like one of the worst parts, and you really have to work into those parts. And you don't need a lot of force. You can just slightly brush it bit by bit, and it will come off. But it does take a while, and you need to have these kind of pins that are long enough to really reach into it. And yeah, sometimes they struggle because it's unpleasant, they don't like it, but that's Bichon's life. Yeah. No. Wait. Wait. So I kind of went through all of it except the front, the head, because I don't really see any serious knots over here, so these can be skipped. It'll be fine. But there is a way to check whether if you have brushed completely or if you have a proper brush, and this is the time when you use this flat comb and you just go through the hair, and if your comb can go through easily, then you're good to go. And in this case, as you can see in the back, this is fine. I can go through. There are just a bit of knots in the end, but that's okay. But do check on the most serious parts, such as these parts, the neck where the collar is, and also the parts behind the ears. And if you can't go through with a comb, or if you found that it's pulling on something, then you know that you need to go back there and brush those parts. Okay. Yep. This one I can go through with this one. Yeah. Maybe the other way around. It's better. Yeah. Phoenix, you're a good boy. Oh, 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 oh. Alright. Look up. Yes, good boy. Now what we're gonna do is paws or front legs. So no 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 hey hey no. Phoenix. That's it. Relaxing. Put it down. Again. This time without the guard. Oops. So I guess we'll just have to wash him, dry him, and then do the rest later because now he's just being very restless. Sometimes that happens if they don't cooperate, don't push it. There were even times when he was acting out so much and I lost patience and I just have to drop everything and continue the next day. That happens too. So if that happens, you know what to do, whether if you should continue or not. Just always try to make sure that you are grooming your Bichons when both of you are in the right mood for it. Alright, we're back from washing. So now we are just gonna start drying him. He was a bit impatient today, probably because the combing was a bit too long, or maybe he's just not in the mood. I don't know what it is. Normally I would have cut more before I dry, but whatever, I mean, it's already done, it's already wet, so we'll just have to do all the trimming, all the cuttings afterwards, after it's dry. So first thing, some of you might know that there's this little trick of using this towel and just wrapping them up, and they seem to sit still like that. So if that works for your Bichon, that's great. Luckily it works for Phoenix, but not so much for Vegas. Let's see how long he's going to sit still like this. So let's start drying. So after a bit of struggling, I managed to dry Phoenix. He's mostly dry. Just make sure that all the roots are all dry. The ends, maybe there's still a little bit of curls, but that's okay because we're going to cut it off. I did notice some parts, I think the conditioner is still there, so it's not going to be really straight, but it's okay because his hair curls up really quick anyway, so we're not really going for that really straight afro puffy look. So now the next step is to do more prep work. It's very important that you do enough preparation before you start cutting. So you just want to go through all over just to make sure that it's all smooth, that you can run a brush through it without any knots anywhere. Yeah, sometimes they just don't cooperate, but you just have to be really confident and give them the feeling that you know what you're doing, and sometimes they will give in. And if not, maybe some treats will help, but that's not really the best way, I think. Well, I do give him treats, but not that much. I think he's a bit he's at the edge of being overweight, I think. So don't worry, he does get his regular treats, he's just not getting that extra treats because he's moving around. Hey. Yeah, I know. Okay, now that was pretty good, so treats! Hey. No, you don't get the whole bucket, no. Come, sit.